of Elevated Success. Today I'm going to go over the Certificate of Liability Insurance, sometimes referred to as the COI, also an Acord 25. To fill this out, you're going to want to start with today's date, whatever date that is, on the top right. On the left side, you'll put your agency information, your agency name and address. Underneath that, under insured, whatever insured these policies are covering, you would have the insured's legal entity that matches the policy along with the address. And then your contact person for the office name along with the phone number and the fax number and the appropriate email address. Under the insurers affording coverage, you would want to list all the different insurers you have for these policies. So for this example, Insure A is Travelers, Insure B is Infinity Insurance Company, Insure C is Pi Insurance. You're also going to want to make sure you have the appropriate NAIC number for those carriers. When we go down to coverages, and you can put this in, I sometimes see it without it, but I list it as certificate number 1, and then if there is a revision, you would put which number of revision that is. So under insure letter, this is going to have to correspond with whatever insure company is insuring the policy. So for this example, under the general liability coverage, I have Travelers Indemnity, which is letter A, and then you're going to fill out the appropriate information on the policy. So you would just follow these exactly as they are. You would want to list whether it's a claims made or occurrence policy, and then how the general aggregate limit applies. For this example, I did per policy, but it could also be per project or per location. If there's an additional insured or waiver of subrogation, you're going to put an X on this part here. So I have an X for additional insured and an X for waiver of subrogation. And then you're also going to want to provide the policy number for this specific policy along with the correct effective dates, and then the coverage that matches the policy on the right hand side. As you'll see for my example for automobile liability, I used Insure B, which up here is Infinity Insurance. I chose any auto coverage, so whatever coverage applies to the vehicles for liability, you would want to click that corresponding box. Again, if there's additional insured or waiver of subrogation, you would check that. Policy number, effective dates, and coverage. For this one, I did combined single limit, which is at the top here, 1 million. If it's split limits, you would put it here under bodily injury per person, per accident, and property damage. The next one for the umbrella policy, I also chose Travelers. So you'll see A here, clicked umbrella. You could also use this for an excess policy. And then occurrence. If it was excess, you're going to want to list which policy that is excess over down in this description box down here. So going forward, so liability, umbrella liability, I did per occurrence, could be claims made. And then if you have a deductible retention, you're going to want to list that amount here in this box. Again, I listed the policy number, effective dates, and the coverage. For the umbrella, it's per occurrence and aggregate. So we have those listed on the far right for the coverage amount that matches the policy. Letter C, we have Pi Insurance Company, which is for the work comp and employer's liability policy. You would want to list any, right here in this box, it's if you have an excluded member, you're going to want to click yes, but you're also going to want to describe it down here. You can see I put excluded on work comp, John Smith, the owner. It is mandatory in New Hampshire, so just be aware of that if you are in New Hampshire. This one, you can only do a waiver of subrogation. You cannot have an additional insured. So if you do have a waiver of subro, you'd want to click that box and then put the policy number, effective dates, and then the coverage amount on the far right. Under description here, this description box, you're going to want to have your description of your operations. In this example, we're doing a pizza restaurant. You also would want a location. So we have the location listed. And then the covered vehicles, you would want to list those as well. if you're doing the auto coverage. Some of these you may only have one policy, so you may not need to list all of this. I'm just doing it as an example for you. Again, I have excluded work comp, John Smith, and then down here at the very bottom, I have the certificate holder in this box. So I have a property manager, and you'll have the address at the very, very bottom. But you'll also want to list the certificate holder. You could say the certificate holder is listed as an additional insured with a waiver of subrogation in the general liability policy listed above. Most certificate holders are going to want to have some form of language. Usually they'll provide you with the language they want. Just make sure that whatever they're asking for is actually covered on that policy. Sometimes they ask for some crazy things. So once you print this out, we fill it out, and then I usually print it to a PDF and then sign it down here before sending. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to help. You can find us at www.elevatedsuccessonline.com, and you can reach me at info@elevatedsuccessonline.com. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you so much for watching.